The stars are right, and that means it's time for another episode of The Whisper in Darkness. I'm your host, the Man from Leng. Thank you very much for joining me today. On this episode, we are continuing our campaign with Sefina Rousseau, the painter from the Path to Carcosa cycle. We finished off Echoes of the Past last session, so now we are headed into the Unspeakable Oath. Yes, we are headed on a trip to Arkham Asylum to try to find Daniel Chesterfield, and we will. As you probably know, this is a bit of a gatekeeper scenario in this cycle. We will need to pass this if we want to have any hope of challenging you-know-who at the end of this campaign. So we are going to be doing our best to beat this today, and I believe I've got the deck to do it. So we shall see. I did make a few changes from the deck that I used in Echoes of the Past. I used the 4 experience points I gained to purchase a copy of Hot Streak, which I used to replace one of my copies of Emergency Cash. I also used Adaptable to swap one copy of Storm of Spirits for another copy of Astral Travel, just so I have that little bit of extra movement. Movement is so important in this particular scenario, and I wanted to have 2 elusives and 2 astral travels going into that. Here is a summary of the campaign so far. As you may remember, during Curtain Call, I tried to warn the police and earn myself 1 conviction. I also stole from the box office during that scenario, so the police are suspicious of me, and I think that does have some dire consequences for us later. The stranger is onto me, of course, and I have 2 tally marks under chasing the stranger. During The Last King, I interviewed Ashley Clark, Sebastian Moreau, and Ishimaru Haruko. We ended up fleeing the dinner party, and I decided to take the Onyx Clasp. After all, thanks to everyone who weighed in on that decision, and we have added that weakness to our deck. Before I continue, I just wanted to give a shout out to Daniel Whitford. He's the creator of the Arkham Horror LCG campaign guide. It's a little app you can pick up over at the Google Play Store. If you have a lot of campaigns going like I do, this app can help you manage them. It's a great little app. Tracks your investigator information, all of the campaign information that you pick up over the course of the scenarios, and it makes it very easy to track your experience and whatnot. So if you have a chance, definitely go over to the Google Play Store and pick up that Arkham Horror LCG campaign guide by Daniel Whitford. I find it very, very useful for all of the campaigns that I've got going. We are set up and ready to go here in Octagon. We have our map set up here. We've got the Eastern Patient Wing and Western Patient Wing at random. We also have the Infirmary, Mess Hall, Kitchen, and we have our yard and garden up here, as well as the basement hall, which we will have to head down to in order to find Daniel. Sefina has her copy of Adaptable, which we have been using to swap cards in and out of our deck. Our agenda is 1A, locked inside. It has a doom threshold of 2. And our act is 1A, Arkham Asylum, and we will need 3 clues in order to advance that. We are playing the Unspeakable Oath on standard difficulty. The skulls are a -1, and if you fail, you randomly choose an enemy from among the set-aside monster enemies and place it beneath the act deck without looking at it. And we also have 2 cultist tokens in the deck in the Chaos bag. The cultist tokens are -X, where X is the amount of horror on you. So that could be quite high, considering Sefina does have a sanity of 9. Hopefully it won't come to that. We are ready to shuffle up our deck here and draw our opening hand. So we will do that now. Hopefully we will... what we're looking for in our opening hand is is ideally a copy of Leo DeLuca. There are some issues in this campaign with cards like Straitjacket that tie up all your hand and body slots. So cards like Lockpicks aren't going to be as useful in this scenario. It'd be nice if we can get them down, but we're not going to be able to hold on to them for long with cards like Straitjacket and Corrosion in the deck. So I'm really looking for Leo DeLuca, and also a way to generate some quick resources so we can get him down, and probably a copy of Ward of Protection would be helpful as well, so we can get cancel any of those really nasty treacheries coming off the top of the deck. All right, Sefina gets her hand to 13 cards. Here we go. Let's see what we have. We've got a Shriveling, a Sneak Attack, a Lockpicks. There's a copy of our Weakness, Stars of Hyades, an Arcane Studies, a Holy Rosary. There's Leo DeLuca. Nice to see him. A Drawn to the Flame, a Quantum Flux, an Unexpected Courage, a Perception, a Ward of Protection, and another copy of Shriveling. So we get to put our 5 events beneath our player card. Let's see how many we've got. We've got 3, 4. Is that it? We do get to replace our copy of Stars. So let's see. We get a Guts out of that. So it looks like we're going to have to discard a card. What do we choose? I think in this case we do have the 2 copies of Shriveling. I'm sort of tempted though to get rid of the Guts, because I think in this scenario Arcane Studies is nice to have, simply because if you can generate enough resources to fuel it, you can get around Corrosion to some extent, so you don't have to rely as heavily on your Lockpicks. I think what we'll do is I'm gonna pitch the Guts. I think I want to keep the 2 copies of Shriveling just in case we need them. All right, we are going to so we didn't see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. All right, so we didn't see a copy of Elusive or Astral Travel. Those are 2 cards I really wanted to see as well, just for their movement, the movement. We also didn't see a copy of The Painted World, which would be very helpful to copy some of the events under us, obviously, especially that Drawn to the Flame and that Ward of Protection. I think Sefina is going to start the game here at the Eastern Patient Wing. We will flip that over. It's a 2-shroud location with 1 clue, and it has the forced effect. After you end your turn at this location, take 1 horror and gain 2 resources. So obviously we don't want to stay there for long. Okay, I think we're ready to go, so we will gain our 3 actions. First action, obviously, we're going to be playing Leo DeLuca. We want to get him down as quickly as possible, so we get that extra action. So we still have 3 actions this turn. Let's see, what do we do next? We want to grab this clue here so we can get out of this location so we don't take a horror. Although it would also be nice to get that 2 resources if we take a horror. So we'll have to see. Let's do a investigate action. We'll commit the perception for 2 additional intellect icons. That's going to be a 4 versus 2. Chaos Bag says that's a +1, so we do grab that clue. We also get to draw a card with the perception. And the card, once Octagon, oh, there is our weakness. The Mob Enforcer. I think that's the first time that we have seen him this campaign. He has 4 fight, 3 health, and 3 agility, or 3 evade, sorry. His prey, he's a humanoid criminal, and his prey is the bearer only. He's a hunter, and we can spend 4 resources to parlay to discard the Mob Enforcer. So we have, that puts us under a bit of pressure here because we don't really have a good way of dealing with him at the moment. We could, probably our best bet is going to be to evade him and try to stay ahead of him until we can get down our a copy of Shriveling and send him to hell. So I think we'll use our I guess it's technically our third action this turn. We are going to try to evade the Mob Enforcer. We are a 4 versus a 3. So we'll just go straight up. It's a -2. That's going to be a failure. So we will have, we've got one more action remaining. So we will, I think we're going to just try to evade him again. Let's see how we do. Chaos Bag says -1, so he is evaded. So he will be exhausted. He is going to be re-engaging us though here right quick during the upkeep phase, so that that's not going to be all that helpful. We will go to upkeep, so we will, is it the end of our turn? The end of our turn. So we take a horror. I'm going to put that on Leo. And we gain 2 resources, which actually helps us out a little bit here. So we can either spend the 4 resources to parlay with the Mob Enforcer, or we will simply try to evade him. I'm not sure what the best way is because I don't want him hanging around. But I also want to get my copy of Shriveling down, as well as my lockpicks, so I can keep on investigating. We get to draw a card and gain a resource. There's another copy of Arcane Studies. And we are going to the first Mythos phase of the game. We add a Doom and draw our first encounter card, which is Whispers in Your Head Dread. Peril, Hidden, Revelation. Secretly add Whispers in Your Head Dread to your hand. You cannot move more than once each turn. Okay, so we'll want to get rid of that at the first opportunity. We have to deal with his Mob Enforcer somehow. I'm not keen on spending the resources to do it right now because we don't have a lot of resources to spare. I think what we'll do... I think what we're going to do, we're going to try to evade him again. We're going to go 4 versus 3 straight up just to see if we can't get away from this guy. There's an auto fail, so that's going to, that obviously sucks. Hate the auto fail, especially at a time like this when we need to get moving. We'll spend another action to evade him. That's a skull. That's going to be -1. So we do manage to evade him. So we will leave him here. Third action, we'll head over to the Asylum Hall's Western Patient Wing. Flip that over. It's a 2-shroud location with 0 clues. And after you defeat a lunatic enemy at this location, you can draw 1 card. All right, we're going to get down our copy of... It would have been really nice to see either the Hot Streak or an Emergency Cache under us. So we will... we're a little shy on resources at the moment. That's not great. We can't move again because of this Whispers in Your Head. So we will have to... I think what we'll do is we'll play our... We will play our copy of... One of our copies of Shriveling. We'll get that down right now. It has 4 charges, of course. And we will prepare for the next turn. We go to the upkeep. We ready the Mob Enforcer, who will start to give chase next turn. We will draw a card. There is a second copy of Leo. He's nice to see. And we will gain a resource and go to the next turn. It's turn 3, and we have to draw an encounter card. Oh, first of all, we have to advance. Locked Inside does flip here to Agenda 1B, the Patience. We shuffle the encounter discard pile and each set aside lunatic enemy into the encounter deck. And the lead investigator must randomly choose an enemy from among the set aside monster enemies and place it beneath the act deck without looking at it. So we will do that now. I believe this deck is the lunatics. No, that's the monsters. These are the lunatics here. So we will shuffle those into the encounter deck. And we have to place one of these enemies at random beneath the act deck. All right, and that is done. Okay, so we still have to draw an encounter card here for that. So we advance to Agenda 2A, which is a Torturous Descent. It has a Doom threshold of 7. All right, we need to draw an encounter card, which is going to be the Roach Swarm. Roach Swarm shows up. We have Roach Swarm is 2 fight because of the shroud value of the Western Patient Wing. It has 2 health, 3 evade. It's a creature, and X is the shroud value of the Roach Swarm's location, and it will hit us for a damage. So we will get our 4 actions. So the mob boss is going to give chase this turn. We could kill the roaches and head over to the yard. And then I'm planning to go to the mess hall, kitchen, and then we'll head down to the basement halls, and hopefully we can get ourselves out of here. We can only move once a turn still, so that's going to put a bit of a kink in our plans here. Let's try to kill these roaches first. Roaches have our fight 2, so we will spend a resource, one of our charges, on shriveling, and see how we do. 4 versus 2. Chaos Bag says 0, so we do not suffer any of the negative repercussions from shriveling in this case, and we kill the roaches. That was our first action. Second action, we can, I'm going to head over to the yard here. We don't have any horror on us still, so I think that's a pretty good plan. We will flip that location over. It's a 1 shroud location with 1 clue, and while you are investigating the yard, it gets +1 shroud for each horror on you. And it has the action: if there are no clues on the yard, take 1 damage. Remember that you have incited a fight amongst the patients. We have 2 actions remaining. We could go 2 versus 1 straight up here against this location. I think that's what we're going to do. We'll just go 2 versus 1. Chaos Bag says -2, so that's a failure. We'll go 2 versus 1 again. Chaos Bag gives us a -1, so we do succeed. And we grab that clue. 1 more clue, and we can advance our act. So we'll go to the enemy phase. Mob Enforcer heads over to the Western Patient Wing. And so he will come after us next turn. We might actually just pay him off now. We need a couple more resources before we can do that. So we will draw a card. There's our first copy of Painted World. We've got 9 cards in our hand. We will pitch a copy of Arcane Studies to that. So now we've got some options as far as the cards underneath us. We will gain a resource, and we go to the next turn. 1 Doom on the agenda. We draw. There is Corrosion. We have to discard item assets from play and our hand with a total printed cost of at least X, where X is the shroud value of our location. Shroud value is 1, so we have to discard one item. I believe that is going to be the Holy Rosary. And or we can get rid of the lockpicks. No, we're going to keep the lockpicks. Those are much more important if we need to do some investigating later. Okay, we get our 4 actions. So what do we need to do this turn? We need to incite a fight for 1 action. Then we need to get past the mob enforcer. And then we can only move once per turn though. That's a bit of a problem. We could get rid of this Whispers in our head now. I think I may do that. I'm going to take the 2 actions to get rid of Whispers in your head. And then I'm going to take 1 action to start the fight. So I'll take a damage. And then I am going to... We've got 1 action remaining. I'm kind of tempted to... Do I have anything I want to play? No, not really. Can't really move back to the Western Patient Wing right now, and we don't have enough resources. I think I'm going to take a resource. And we'll probably end up paying off this mob enforcer this turn so he doesn't chase us all over the bloody place. He will move during the enemy phase, and I'm going to put the damage on Leo. All right, we move on. So we have no actions left. We've done the enemy phase. We draw a card. There's another copy of the Painted World. Okay, so we've got lots of options there now. We will gain a resource, add a doom, and draw our next encounter card, which is going to be Walls Closing In, test X, willpower, where X is the shroud value of your location. If you fail, you must either take 1 horror for each point you failed by, or randomly choose 1 enemy from among the set-aside monster enemies and place it beneath the act deck without looking at it. So that's actually quite good. We're a 4 versus 1. We'll just go straight up with that. We get a -2, and that's an easy pass for us. All right, we get our 4 actions. We've gotten rid of that Whispers in our head, so now we can do some moving. As our first action, we're just going to pay off the mob boss and get rid of him. He's rather annoying, and we'll send him on his way so we don't have to deal with him anymore. We'll use our second action to move down to the Western Patient Wing. Use another action to move down to the Mess Hall, which we will flip over. Mess Hall is a 2-shroud location with 2 clues, and it has the forced effect. After you successfully investigate the Mess Hall, choose and discard 1 card not at random. Discard 1 card from your hand, and it's worth a victory point. We don't really have anything we can investigate with. Actually, I think this is a good time to use our first Painted World, because we can grab those 2 clues and then we will be able to advance our agenda. So we will do that. We will play the Painted World to copy this Drawn to the Flame underneath us to discover 2 clues. We've got to draw a card from the encounter deck though, and that is going to be another Whispers in our head. We cannot trigger free abilities now. That's Whispers in your head anxiety. Of course, it's peril hidden. Secretly add Whispers in your head anxiety to your hand. Excuse me, you cannot trigger free triggered abilities. And we can take 2 actions to get rid of it. But we do grab those 2 clues. And I don't think we lose a card from our hand because we didn't investigate. So we are going to get a victory point out of that. and we can advance our act. So we will spend the 3 clues to do that now. And we will flip that over. Act 1B is the key to the basement. The investigators must decide to choose one. Any investigator tests Combat 4 to intimidate the nurse, or we can test Agility 4 to steal the keys from her, or we can test Intellect 4 to persuade her to give us the keys. Obviously, Sefina is best at agility, so we will be doing that. We need we're 4 versus 4. I'm going to commit this unexpected courage, so we'll go 6 versus 4. Hopefully that'll be enough. Chaos Bag says -2, so that's nice. We pass that. We get the keys, and we can now advance to the next scenario, or the next act. 2A, The Really Bad Ones, version 1. It has the game text, ignore the text on the unrevealed side of Arkham Asylum locations, and it has the objective, find the patient confinement location with Daniel Chesterfield. You will be instructed when to advance. So that was our final action of the turn. We have 1 clue remaining. I'm just going to put a mark up here to remind me that we did incite a fight. We need to get a few more, we need to complete a few more of those objectives before we can finish this scenario. So we will just go on to the upkeep phase. We will draw a card. There's a Guts, gain a resource, add a Doom, and we are on turn 6. Our encounter card is a Maniac. He engages us. He has, after he engages us, we take a damage and deal a damage to the Maniac. Don't like taking damage as Sefina. We don't have a lot of damage to spare, so that is going to hurt a little bit anyway. We do get our 4 actions, however. So the question is now, we could leave we could easily evade the Maniac and head over to the basement hall. I believe there's 4 objectives there that we could get. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Normally I would go to the kitchen and start a fire, but I'm not thrilled about the idea of going through this Maniac a couple times. Maybe we've got the time. No, I think I'd rather have the kitchen one under my hand, get that one complete before we head back to the basement halls. We might draw an astral travel or something like that in the meantime. So I will spend an action to evade the Maniac. 4 versus 1. Chaos Bag gives us a cultist, which is -X for each horror. That's fine. We easily evade him. Second action, we will move over to the kitchen. Whoop, what did we do here? We drew a card instead. Okay, so we will flip that over. Kitchen is a 2-shroud location with 1 clue, and it has the action, if there are no clues on the kitchen, test willpower 2. And if you succeed, remember that you set a fire in the kitchen. We have 2 actions remaining. What do we have? What can we pitch? We could go 2 versus 2. Do we need the lot? We need, how many clues do we need at the basement hall? We need 3. I think we need 3 at least. So we will have to get this clue somehow. We could paint our paint drawn to the flame again. That's not a free ability. I don't have any free abilities, I don't think that I have to worry about. So that Whispers in Your Head isn't going to be a big issue. I could get the card and then pass this right away. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to paint that Drawn to the Flame again. Draw an encounter card. It is just Dance of the Yellow King. If there are no lunatic enemies in play, Dance of the Yellow King gains Surge. Otherwise, test 3 willpower. If you fail, the nearest lunatic enemy readies, moves 1 location at a time until it reaches your location, engages you, and makes an immediate attack. All right. So we're going to commit our guts to that. I do not want this Maniac headed our way. I believe it's Lunatics. All right. So 4... 5, 6 versus 3. Chaos Bag says Skull. That's a -1, so we do succeed. The Maniac will stay right where he is. We do get to draw a card for the guts. There is our first copy of Elusive. That is awfully nice to see. That will help us a great deal later in this scenario. We do get that clue. And now we can try to pass this test in the kitchen. If there are no clues in the kitchen, test willpower 2. If you succeed, remember that you set a fire in the kitchen. We will just go straight up with that. 4 versus 2. Chaos Bag gives us a big 0. So we do set a fire in the kitchen as our final action. Maniac will ready. Okay. Now, what I would kind of like to have actually is a copy of Astral Travel or my other Elusive at this point to just skip over the Maniac, but we'll see what we can do here. Draw a card. There's an Uncage the Soul. Wish I could have seen that a bit earlier in the game when I was playing that Shriveling. We will gain a resource and add a Doom. It's turn 7. We will draw an encounter card. It is Ooze and Filth, sorry. Almost the same thing. Ooze and Filth, Ooze and Sludge. Put Ooze and Filth into play next to the agenda deck. Each location gets +1 Shroud, and at the end of the round, discard Ooze and Filth. Okay, so we've got our 4 actions. We could Elusive over to the Asylum Halls and then move down to the Basement Hall. I think that might be our best play. We can just skip over this Maniac. I don't really feel like taking the damage from him. So that will be a free action. We will do that. As a fast action, we will play our Elusive to bounce back over here, away from the Maniac. And we will use our first action to move into the Basement Halls. And we get to flip that over. And it is a 4 Shroud location with 1 clue. It's worth a victory point. After Basement Halls is revealed, put the 4 set-aside patient confinement locations into play. We will bring those out now. Down here in my location box. We'll shuffle those up and put those into play. And hopefully we can find Daniel sooner than later. I kind of like having Leo around, actually, but I prefer to keep Leo. But we need a couple of more. We need to complete a couple more objectives before we are in a position to leave this terrible place. Be nice to pick up another victory point here at the Basement Hall, so we'll see how we do. We can grab this copy of Drawn to the Flame and play it again if necessary. We've got 3 actions remaining. We can spend one of our clues to move to this patient confinement location. It's a 5 shroud location with 1 clue. We have to test Combat 2 to release the patient here from his bonds. If you succeed, he howls like a wolf and tears off through the basement. Remember that you have released a dangerous patient. That is a little bit beyond us, actually. We've only got 2 combat. So we have nothing we can pitch. Well, we do have a shriveling. We do have a copy of shriveling we could pitch to that if we need to. Yeah, I don't see why not. We don't really have many other options. And the Chaos Bag, I think, is quite good. Skulls are -1, and the cultists are -0 right now. So we do have a pretty good chance of passing this. We will commit the copy of shriveling to go 3 versus 2. Chaos Bag says cultist. Nice. So that's a big 0. So we do release the crazy patient. Could it be Wolfman Drew? Probably. Wolfman Drew probably was sent to the Arkham Asylum after our encounter with him during the Night of the Zealot campaign. All right, we've got 3 objectives down. We've got one action remaining. Not a big fan of either of these locations in case we draw another copy of roaches. The roaches are a 5 combat beast here, and they're a 4 here. But we will move back over here, back to the basement hall as our final action. We will draw a card. And it is our copy of Lone Wolf. Okay, nice to see that. If we need some extra resources, we will add a Doom. The Use and Filth goes away. Oh yeah, they were 6 shroud locations. Yikes. 6 and 5. That's bad news. 5 out of 7 Doom on the agenda. It's turn 8. We draw an encounter card. There is a young psychopath. After she engages you, we must either take a horror or a young psychopath gets +3 fight until the end of the investigation phase. I will take the horror so we can have a shot at killing her this turn. And we will gain our 4 actions. Leo DeLuca is just so amazing. I'm always continually impressed with just how freaking good he is in Sefina. She really needs those extra actions to have a chance, and he is simply amazing. We've got the young psychopath. She has 2 fight, 2 health, and 3 evade. Humanoid lunatic. Forced, after young psychopath engages you, you must either take 1 horror or the young psychopath gets +3 fight until the end of the investigation phase. First action, we're going to just blow her away, hopefully with shriveling. So that will be, we're going 4 versus 2. Still got a very favorable Chaos Bag at the moment. We will do that, and we get a -3, so we miss. Okay, that's no good. I guess second action, we're going to have to do it again. This time I'm going to commit something. Going to commit this Arcane Studies here. So we're going to go 5 versus 2. We get a -1. So we use 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we've got 1 left. All right, so the young psychopath takes the 2 damage, and she will be vaporized. We've got 2 actions left. We can spend a clue to move to this patient to confinement. We'll flip that over. It's a 3-shroud location with 1 clue. And it has the action test 2 intellect to speak to the patient here. If you succeed, you are able to interpret her ravings. Remember that you know the guard's patrols. And that's a 3-shroud location with 1 clue. We do have 1 action remaining. Test 2. We're only a 2. Chaos Bag is still very favorable to us, so we can pitch this copy of Leo DeLuca. We will commit that. So we will be going 3 versus 2. Chaos Bag says Cultist. That's a -1. So we do succeed. Very favorable Chaos Bag in this particular scenario, with the skulls being only a -1 and the cultists are still only a -1. So we do succeed. All right, what do we need to do now? We need, it'd be nice to get that lone wolf down so we can start gaining a few more resources. We could grab another victory point here at the basement hall to get a clue. We've completed four of the objectives, so I think we're good there. We will just draw a card. There's that onyx clasp that we picked up in Echoes of the Past. While it's in our hand, we have to increase the cost of each other card in our hand by 1. That's quite annoying, and it's going to cost us 1 to put it into play. We'll gain a resource, add a doom, and we're on turn 9. Let's draw an encounter card. It is going to be Descent into Madness. It surges. If you have at least 3 horror on you, you lose an action. We do not. So that will surge into a Mad Patient. We put that in the nearest asylum halls. Its prey is the investigator with the most remaining sanity. And when you attack Mad Patient, you take a horror. It's got 2 fight, 2 health, and 3 evade. So that will go right here. All right. 4 actions. So what we'll need to do if we want to play this Drawn to the Flame for the 3rd time this game, we're going to have to choose an event and grab it. Because we're out of clues, we need 2 more to check these 2 locations. So first action, we'll move back to the basement hall. Second action, we're going to grab this copy of Painted World, or not Painted World, sorry, Drawn to the Flame into our hand. And then we will play it as our 3rd action to grab a card. We have to draw an encounter card first, which is going to be the yellow sign. Test 4 willpower. If you fail, take 2 horror and search your deck for a madness weakness. Draw that card and shuffle your deck. We're at a 4 versus 4. We'll go... Oh, we got to pay. Got to pay 1 because of the clasp. Yeah. Drawn to the Flame costs us 1. That's okay. We're going to commit this Uncage the Soul to the test. So we'll go 6 versus 4. Not crazy about taking 2 horror. We get a 0. We're okay still. And we grab this clue and we get a victory point out of it, which is awfully nice. So we moved. That was 1. We grabbed the Drawn to the Flame. That was 2. We played it. That's 3. We've got 1 action remaining. Okay, I'm going to use that 1 action. We'll spend our clue to move to the next patient hall. Patient confinement. This is, we found Daniel. There we go. After patient confinement is revealed, advance to Act 2B. So we do advance. Act 2B is 3 geese in a flock, and so we choose an investigator at patient confinement Daniel cell, put the set aside Daniel Chesterfield card asset side face up into play under the investigator's control, and we shuffle the encounter discard pile and each enemy beneath the act deck into the encounter deck. So we gain Daniel Chesterfield. Unfortunately, Leo, we have to say goodbye to him. And so we have to shuffle the encounter discard pile and each enemy beneath the act deck into the encounter deck. So we only had one enemy to worry about. So we will shuffle that in, and these, the encounter discard pile. Come on. There we go. Shuffle that up. Okay, and we will be advancing to the next act. Act 3A is planning the escape. So with or without Daniel, you have to get out of this place as soon as you can. We get to ignore the text on the unrevealed side of Arkham Asylum locations. As under our objective, if investigators have performed 4 of the following, we must advance. That is, know the guard's patrol, set a fire, incite a fight amongst patients, release a dangerous patient, recall the way out, or distract the guards. We have completed 4 of them. We started a fight, we set a fire, we release the dangerous patient, and we know the guard's patrol. So we automatically advance to the next, to Act 3B. So it's a way out. We shuffle the encounter discard pile and each enemy beneath the act deck into the encounter deck. We've already done that. If at least 3 monster enemies were shuffled into the encounter deck by this effect, the investigator with the lowest willpower discards cards from the top of the encounter deck until a monster enemy is discarded, and we draw that enemy. But 3 monsters were not shuffled, so we don't do any of that. We advance to Act 4A, No Asylum. All hell has broken loose. Ignore the text on the unrevealed side of Arkham Asylum locations. Garden gains action if there are no ready enemy in the garden. Resign. Finally, a way out. And our objective is, if each undefeated investigator has resigned, we get to advance. That is going to do it for our turn. We now we just need to escape. That is all we have to do. Yeah, we're still good. And so we will go to the enemy phase. Nobody moves around. We will just go to upkeep. We will draw a card. There is Astral Travel. Okay, so that we need 4 resources to play that. That's going to be a bit expensive, but we can do it. That will get us to the yard quite easily if we need to. We may end up losing Daniel, but that's okay. We will gain a resource. And we go to the next... oh, I think we're advancing this turn. Yes, we are. We will add a doom and advance our agenda. Agenda 2B is the yellow sign. The lead investigator must randomly choose an enemy from among the set-aside monster enemies and shuffle it into the encounter deck without looking at it. If we check the campaign log, if Constance Dumaine is not listed under VIP slain, we search the collection for Constance Dumaine, a little too sociable, and spawn her in the garden. So we will have to go get Constance right now, since we did not kill her during the Last King. Where did I hide her? She is in here, in my chaos bag folder. So we will grab Constance, and we will put her into play at the garden. She is a hunter, of course, so she is going to give chase to us. She has 4 fight, 6 health, and 1 evade. She's a monster lunatic elite hunter. While Constance's domain is exhausted, she gets +3 fight. She's worth 0 victory points and will hit you for 2 damage. We also have to grab an enemy, one of the monsters from the set aside monster enemies, and shuffle it into the encounter deck. So we will shuffle those up again and just add one into the deck. I think this yellow sign needs to be in there as well, so we will, come on, shuffle that in as well. All right, that is that. So we advance to Agenda 3A, which is Flee. Flee while you still can. It's got the forced effect when you would place an enemy beneath the act deck, shuffle that enemy into the encounter deck instead. It's got a doom threshold of 8. All right, we've got to draw an encounter card, which is going to be Corrosion. So we have to discard item assets from play and or our hand with a total printed resource cost of at least X, where X is the shroud value of your location. That is 2, but we cannot discard the Clasp of Onyx, and so that's going to be our lockpicks. We've got to say bye to the lockpicks. Okay. We did discard a card, so that does not gain Surge. We have 3 actions now. So Constance is coming after us. We've got the Mad Patient coming after us. Or no, the Mad Patient's not. Constance is pretty easy to evade with a 1 evade. So we will simply... We still have the Astral Travel in our back pocket if we need it. So I am going to use my first action to move back to the basement hall. I'm going to use my second action. That's a bit of a tougher one there. I'm going to take that action back here. I'm not sure I want to run into this Mad Patient. That's a 4 versus 3. The Chaos Bag is still pretty favorable at this point. We only have 1 horror. What does Daniel allow us to do? Exhaust Daniel, give control of him to another investigator. We can't do that anyway since we have no investigators and we can't trigger free triggered abilities. When you take a horror, you have to assign it to Daniel. And if he leaves play, we remove him from the game. Okay, so that doesn't really help us. What happens here at the Asylum Hall? After you end your turn at this location, we take a horror and gain 2 resources. Not sure I want to do that either. I think what I'm going to do... I am going to... What happens if we play... each other card? Okay, so we could play... I think what we're going to do, we're going to play the Clasp for 1. And we're going to play our Lone Wolf for 1. So this will help us generate some resources. And then we can start, hopefully, to get out of here. We'll go to the enemy phase. Constance comes down to the yard. I'm just going to let her come at me, and then I can zip away if necessary. We will draw a card and gain a resource. There's a Painted World. Okay. Gain a resource and add a doom. It's turn 11, and our encounter card for this turn is going to be the Spawn of Hali. Oh dear. It's a 4 fight, 4 health, 2 evade, And its prey is the investigator with the most horror. It has retaliate, has the forced effect after you successfully evade spawn of Holly by 2 or less. We have to take a horror, and it will hit us for 2 horror and 1 damage. So we need to successfully evade the spawn of Holly by at least 2 or by at least 3. Okay, that's going to be a little tricky considering it's a 2 and we're a 4. All right. We do get a resource from Lone Wolf. We just have to be alone. Okay. We have a painted world. That gives us 2. Then we could move up and deal with the mad patient. Constance comes, we evade her. Okay, we're going to commit our copy of the painted world here. First action, we'll commit the copy of the painted world. So we'll go 6 versus 2. Chaos Bag says -1, so we do evade by a ton. So the spawn of Holly is evaded. Second action, we'll move up to this Eastern Patient Wing. Just going to move this infirmary out of the way for a moment. Put her down there at the Eastern Patient Wing. She will engage this mad patient. Mad patient, when we attack her, we'd have to take a horror, so we could destroy her with shriveling. That would be our one option. We'll gain enough resources to play Astral Travel next turn if we need to. And don't really want to take a damage. That would kill Daniel. I think we're just going to take a shot at him. What's Daniel's text here? When you take a horror, if at least one of that horror is not assigned to Daniel, we take a damage. Okay, so we will do that. That was our second action. Third action, we will use shriveling. We will use our final shriveling charge to shoot at this mad patient. We're going 4 versus 2, and we have to take a horror, which we will assign to Daniel. Chaos Bag says cultist. That is a -1. And so we also have to take another horror because of the shriveling. So that will also go on Daniel. But the mad patient is done. All right, that's our turn. We don't have anything else to worry about. During the enemy phase, Constance will move here to the Asylum Hall's Western Patient Wing. During the upkeep, the spawn of Holly readies, but I think we don't have to worry about him. We will draw a card. There is an Uncage the Soul. Hey, that's really nice. Play spell or ritual card from your hand, reducing cost by 3. That makes Astral Travel free. So we will gain a resource. And we simply go to the next Mythos phase. All right, 2 Doom on the agenda out of 8. We're on turn 12. We draw an encounter card, Ooze and Filth. Put Ooze and Filth into play next to the agenda deck. Each location gets +1 Shroud. And at the end of the round, discard Ooze and Filth. Now, I think we could grab potential to grab another victory point at the infirmary. That would be one option. We do have some time. or we can zip around here to the yard and then up to the garden. We still need to pass an investigate test, though. I think up there to clear it. If there's no enemy at the garden, garden gains resign. Oh, so we just need to get to the garden. We don't even have to. Okay, well that changes things up a little bit here. We do have time. We can move from the garden, or we can. I'm going to try to get this other victory point here. I think we're going to. We've got some time. We've got 3 actions. I'm going to gain a resource with Lone Wolf. I'm going to use my first action to move to the infirmary. Flip that over. It's a 3 shroud location with 1 clue, and we can heal 1 damage and take 1 direct horror, or heal 1 horror and take 1 direct damage once per round. Now, we don't really have anything that we can get. We don't have any investigate. We don't have any intellect icons in our hand, sorry. So we're going to need to try to, if we're going to pass this 3 shroud location, we're going to have to do that. Let's, I think I might use Quantum Flux to get that copy of Drawn to the Flame back into my hand, possibly. So we'll use our second action to take the Quantum Flux into our hand, and then we will use our third action to play it for 1 resource. So Quantum Flux, shuffle your discard pile into your deck and draw 1 card. Remove Quantum Flux from the game. So we will shuffle this back into our deck. And we will draw a card. There's a copy of the Painted World. Okay, that doesn't really help us, but it's nice to have because we do have that word of protection in case something really terrible happens. All right, so we will draw a card. There's an Arcane Studies. That would help us pass this intellect test. We gain a resource. That goes away, and I think we just, oh, we got to move Constance. Constance heads over here to the Eastern Patient Wing. Yeah, I'm not sure if we're going to, I don't think we've got the time now to, because Constance is going to hit us for 2 damage, and that's not great. So I think it's probably time to just take our 2 VPs and head out to head to the garden. So we've drawn a card. Yeah, we're good to go here. So we will simply add a Doom. Turn 13, encounter card is Dance of the Yellow King. If there are no lunatic enemies in play, Dance gains Surge. Otherwise, we test 3 willpower. If you fail, the nearest lunatic enemy readies, moves 1 location at a time until it reaches your location, engages you, and makes an immediate attack. That will be Constance, of course. I am going to pitch this Uncage the Soul. That is so we are now a 4, 5, 6 versus 3. I'm also going to pitch this Arcane Studies to go 7 versus 3. That should protect us from all but the worst. It's a -1, so nothing happens. Okay. We've got our 3 actions. I believe it's time to go. We will gain a resource. And we can play our Astral Travel if we wish. And we can do that. We can pay 3 resources to play Astral Travel. Astral travel, of course, move to any revealed location and reveal a random token from the chaos bag. If you reveal a skull, cultist, tablet, elder thing, or tentacle, you must discard an item or ally asset you control. If you cannot, take 1 damage. So we could lose, potentially lose Daniel here, but I'm not overly concerned about that. Chaos bag gives us a -1, so that is fine. So Sefina will zip over here to the yard. As our second action, we will move up to the garden. Garden is a 3-shroud location with 1 clue, and it has the action: if there are no clues on the garden, test agility 2. If you succeed, remember that you distracted the guards. We don't have to worry too much about that because on Act 4A, the garden gains action if there are no ready enemies here. Garden gains resign, finally a way out. We will take our final action and resign. So we do survive the unspeakable oath. I was a little bit worried there at the beginning when that mobster came out. It's never great when you're Sefina to have an enemy chasing you around. I don't have a ton of combat in this deck. I do have some, but not enough to be dealing with lots and lots of enemies. So pulling one out of your own draw deck is never a good thing. We got lucky that we did get those painted worlds right at the right time, and we had that drawn to the flame underneath us. So we were able to play that same draw into the flame 3 times during the game and get a lot of clues and make our lives a lot easier. Would have been nice to get this clue here at the infirmary for that victory point, but with Constance bearing down on us, there's really no need to take any risks. And yeah, the only other thing at the beginning, it was a little disappointing that resources were in such short supply there at the start, but we were able to work through it and to put up a W here. So turn 13, we finish off the Unspeakable Oath, and Sefina is heading into a Phantom of Truth. So she will be off to Paris in our next scenario. So I'm looking forward to bringing that to you. I've also got Lola Hayes is also going to be going through the Phantom of Truth here shortly, and I'm looking forward to that. Of course, we've got there's so much new stuff out. I mean, Forgotten Age just dropped yesterday, and so I've been looking through the cards for that, and I'm really excited to play that for you. The blind playthrough I did for Dim Carcosa received a lot of positive feedback, so I think I'm going to do that again. I'm going to play it blind and just see how we do, and so I'm looking forward to bringing that to you once I get my copy of the Forgotten Age from my friendly neighborhood game store. Also, just a reminder that this is the deadline for the Forgotten Age giveaway is coming up here on Sunday. So make sure, if you haven't entered already, make sure you get your entry in, and so your name will be entered into that draw for the Forgotten Age box. That's going to do it for me today. If you enjoyed this playthrough, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you need to reach me, I can be reached at manfromleng@gmail.com. I'm also on Twitter at manfromleng. Until the stars are right, keep your shotgun close and your elder sign closer. Take care out there, and happy investigating.